Let's do, I guess, this insane Ted Cruz clip. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Gotta be more
Jesse,
specific.
yeah, I know. Jesse Waters had Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz, on his program. Jesse Waters has taken over for Tucker Carlson, and they're talking about the real issues in America, which is, films, right?
And not the way that they compensate their writers and actors. It's that they are trying to social engineer men out of existence.
Apparently, I thought Barbie was going to be a fun time for me and my friends to like have a little wine before and then see maybe Ryan Gosling with his shirt off, some fun colors and outfits. But no, that's not what it is, apparently. It's also a Chinese communist plot, according to Senator Ted Cruz, one of the most visible senators, most powerful people in this country, came in second in the Republican primary. And this is how he thinks.
Senator Ted Cruz is mad at the Barbie movie. His beef with Barbie centers around a map. If you see right here,
Beef with Barbie.
next to Asia, shows the 9 dashes. Now, those dashes signify Chinese ownership of the ocean, islands, and reefs. The Chinese believe they own the South China Sea. But
Can you pause it for a sec? Keep that up there. Keep that up there. Keep that map up there. Okay. So I have seen the trailer enough and have gotten excited enough for the movie that I can tell you what's going on here. This is, I believe, one of the Barbies, like, own maps of the world, right? It's not meant to be some sort of secret, like, QAnon message
Look at the
to the
cartography
world.
here.
No, this is how Americans see the rest of the globe.
Right. It's meant to be like a childlike depiction of a map in a book in a movie about a toy. There are dashes all over the place. There are waves. There are hurricanes. This is not a depiction. This is not the desire from the executives to make sure that hurricanes happen.
I don't know. I look at this and I think I support China invading Taiwan right now. I don't know how you can get any other meaning from that map.
Wait, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 dashes. Didn't he say there's 9?
Yeah, he's right. And the 9 apparently, does go to some sort of the 9-dash line at various times, referred to as an 11-dash line, not by the Republic of China, is a set of line segments in various maps that indicate the territory. So yeah, it's not 8 dashes.
There's 8 on the map. They don't even have the number right.
I just don't think propaganda works very well if it's this coded. Like, obviously, I don't think the average person is going to look at this map and understand what he's trying to explain. Like, if you have to explain it this much, most people are just going to think it's like the little dashes on a map, like a pirate treasure map.
Right. Yeah. Subliminal advertising, like, it doesn't really work that well. The extent that we think it can change behavior that much, you actually need a real message that people consciously interpret and decode to really change.
But behavior. I mean, there must be something very secretive about it actually being 8 dashes as opposed to 9. Let's see if they get into that. Let's go back 10 seconds in this complete insanity.
Senator Ted Cruz is mad at the Barbie movie. His beef with Barbie centers around a map. If you see right here, next to Asia, shows the 9 dashes. Now, those dashes signify Chinese ownership of the ocean, islands, and reefs. The Chinese believe they own the South China Sea, but they don't. So why did the Barbie movie bow to China? It's a business decision. Warner Brothers bows down to China more than Janet Yellen. Senator Ted Cruz joins me now. So, Senator, did you even see the movie, or did you just see this stupid map?
It came out yesterday.
No, I have not seen the movie. I've just seen the stupid map. And I got to say, look, I mean, as you just showed, the map is drawn like in crayons. It's roughly a map of the world, but China, Asia
There's no
is just
Europe.
a big crayon box. But then right to the east of where China is are the 9 dashes. And to anyone who's not really focused on geopolitics, those lines don't mean anything. But what those lines indicate is the Communist Party of China puts out official maps with those 9 dashes, and they are asserting sovereignty over the entire South China Sea. They're saying all of that is China's. And by the way, all of their neighbors disagree. Vietnam disagrees. The Philippines disagrees. Actually, the country of Vietnam has banned the movie Barbie.
How do they feel about
from
us?
their nation because these 9 dashes are replicated.
So they can't see Margot Robbie. That is a huge mistake. Does Warner Brothers have to push this propaganda so that they allow the movie to be showcased in China?
Yeah, what he's getting at, kind of without realizing it, is that actually what we're doing right now, you and I, Senator Ted Cruz, is marketing this movie and telling people about it to the extent that's probably going to raise sales. Like they might rely on this sort of stuff. I don't know. I often think a lot of the culture war stuff I think that the studios kind of do subconsciously play into it. I don't think, because if we looked on that map, there's also dashed lines in the Caribbean. I don't think they're saying like this is the Monroe Doctrine.
Or there's no continent of Europe. Did you see the continent of Europe on that map? Because I don't. And do you know what that means? They want to erase the Aryan race. Right. Obviously.
I didn't see it. I did see how the American flag only had like 7 stripes on it.
Wow. Do you know those are probably for the blue states?
I assumed it was some sort of reference to Islam.
Stars are for the states. Dumbass. But see, I don't even know.
Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah, who knows and who cares?
I also didn't count the stripes, so I was making that up.
Let's keep going.
Margot Robbie, that is a huge mistake. Does Warner Brothers have to push this propaganda so that they allow the movie to be showcased in China, which is what, like 1.8 billion potential customers?
Yeah, look, that's exactly what's going on here. Obviously, the little girls that are going to see Barbie, none of them are going to have any idea what those dashes mean. This is really designed for the eyes of the Chinese censors, and they're trying to kiss up to the Chinese Communist Party because they want to make money selling the movie in China. And sadly, Jesse, this is a pattern we've seen of lots of Hollywood movie studios allowing China to censor American movies. And I got to tell you, I introduced legislation, it's called the Script Act, that says the federal government will not allow movie makers to use U.S. government assets, things like jets or tanks or ships or helicopters.
Good.
If they allow the Chinese government to censor their films. And my legislation in substantial parts passed in December of last year. Just a few weeks ago, the Pentagon put out the official guidance saying, if you let China censor your movies, you're not getting U.S. assets. Sadly, the Barbie movie, they didn't have the F-35.
We should not be allowing U.S. assets to be used in making of Hollywood films to begin with. Like the Pentagon's, like that we have had like official U.S. military involvement with regards to films about what we've been doing in the Middle East is appalling, and it should be historically damned. It shouldn't be like tinkered at. Just we can only do it in case we're like aggressive against China in the content.
And this is not censorship. This is actually not. It's an addition, even in their insane interpretation, it's an addition of like a nationalist Chinese thought about the sovereignty over the South China Sea, but it doesn't have the 9 dashes. It just has the 8 because that makes it a little more subtle.
Gotta
apparently,
hide it,
you gotta hide it.
I mean, he is drawing, at least touching on a trend in movies that you can notice over the past few decades, and that not necessarily censorship per se, but there's been a lot more Chinese investment in certain large blockbuster movies. That's why, like in not Terminator, but like Transformers, like 4, they just somehow end up in China. That's why at the end of the Meg, they end up in China. Yeah. This is just like a funding decision that some movie studios are going with. The fact
it's
that
capitalism. That's a massive market. So that is part of why some of these movies are being like directed towards China or giving lip service or whatever. They want the international box office is incredibly important for those big blockbusters, which are like Marvel movies and freaking Transformers or whatever.
They just matter a lot more now, and that's just what they're gripping. They're griping about that. Like, movies have to be made with an international audience in mind, and some of that stuff is bad. Some of the stuff that some countries do not want in their movies can be anti-gay. It can be anti-trans, it can be sort of anti certain ethnic minorities. So are some of the decisions that we make in our movie industry.
But all of that would be said that it's wokeness by Disney trying to indoctrinate your children. Like what Ted Cruz is in favor of in terms of censorship domestically is the censorship of, say, you know, a lesbian couple kissing in Buzz Lightyear. Apparently that's woke indoctrination. But in fact, Ted Cruz is very much aligned with, say, Saudi Arabia or other governments that won't show those kinds of movies because they include that content. So the person who's pro-censorship on behalf of these movie studios is definitely Ted Cruz. Well, that was dumb as hell. Let's take a call. Calling from a 707 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
I don't even know what to say to it. Like, Ted Cruz is so not even like relevant anymore. I'm sorry to the caller for
hold on. One second. Well,
yeah, I was just saying, like, this. It's so clear. Like, this is just like Ted Cruz, like, grasping for any sort of relevancy. When's the last time anyone has talked about him? He's like just a nobody in his own party, in their own media world. Nobody in right-wing media even talks about Ted Cruz anymore. He doesn't appeal to the very small, serious Republican base. He doesn't appeal to the much larger MAGA Republican base. Even further right guys don't like him. Like, he's just flailing in that party, and so he needs to do things and say things that try to give him some relevancy at this point, because he's even in a worse space now than when Donald Trump was just on a regular basis attacking him and his wife, because at least then people were talking about Ted Cruz.